Hi, my name is Marie Kuck, and I'm co-founder of NHope, and I'm so happy to be here with you today to share about how to start a special needs ministry using respite care. I can tell you 100% that it works. Maybe you're watching today and you're in full-time ministry, or maybe you're a parent that is desperately looking to have your church start a ministry that will help families like yourself. Whatever the case is, I once sat in your shoes and was on the other side and didn't really understand the whole world of disability and how to effectively minister. And that all changed when God blessed our life with a little boy named Nathaniel over 14 years ago. When Nathaniel came into our life, he was born with multiple special needs, and we spent the first 3 months of his life in a hospital fighting for his life. And the next 4.5 years, were just filled with caregiving responsibilities. In fact, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we often felt like our life was put on a shelf, and we had so much to offer, but what we didn't realize was that we were really in the classroom at the time, and God was really pouring into our life through a little boy who could never talk or walk or eat with his mouth, yet God is using his life today to impact so many lives. Just 10 years ago, he had a change of address and went to heaven. And after he left us, and he left indelible footprints and handprints on our hearts and lives. And because of his life today, we began Nathaniel's Hope. And our mission with Nathaniel's Hope is to cheer on families that have all kinds of special needs and to kind of encourage them on their journey. But it's also to educate and equip the community, particularly the Christian community, to make a difference. And so that's why we're here today. Within Nathaniel's Hope, we call kids with special needs VIPs. I hate the word disabled or handicapped because they're kids before they are anything else. And if you're not a VIP with Nathaniel, then you're a buddy, and a buddy is a friend. So thank you for being a friend today and wanting to learn how to reach this community. As I said before, we are trying to educate and equip the community, and we do that through several programs, whether it is our Christmas program where we go and encourage families and encourage others to join with us to connect with families in the community that might have special needs and help them through caroling and presenting goodies and gifts to them on Christmas, or whether it's our festival, Make Them Smile, where we've had over 10,000 people this year at a festival that celebrates kids with special needs. Or perhaps the most effective way is through our Buddy Break program. That's offering respite care through local churches. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the need is tremendous for these families. You may have heard before that stress factors are 2 to 3 times higher for families that have kids with disabilities than those that don't. There's an 80% divorce rate, which is a statistic known within the special needs community. Oftentimes, caregivers' lives are filled with therapies and doctor's visits, and these families truly never ever get a break. And they're so desperately looking for help and hope and have to fight for everything wherever they go. And the local church should be one place so they don't have to fight for this. In fact, we received this letter. We often get letters from the community as we're out about trying to assist this community. And this letter really touched my heart, and it's a little bold and a little bit harsh, but it's something that I think we need to hear as we're equipping ourselves to reach out. And here is a mom that was just really frustrated that wrote, "Our church has a wonderful children's ministries, but my son has been left behind. Unfortunately, the same that has happened to my family seems to happen to a lot of other families with VIP children. The church is the last place that one finds understanding, compassion, or a helping hand. I've had store clerks who we don't know to be more understanding and compassionate toward us. We've been very alone in this journey. Thank God for my mother, or we would not be able to attend church at all. The head of our church's ministry is a loving woman who is overworked, and there's no one else who really cares about my son or us and our struggles at our church. The Buddy Breaks program sounds wonderful. What I wouldn't give for something like that, but our church is too busy with the needs of those who don't attend to worry about the mission field right under their noses. I wish I could say I had the energy to be the one to start at our church, but I was just diagnosed with lupus after 26 years of suffering, pain, and extreme fatigue. My marriage is in shambles, and I have to talk myself through each and every task throughout the day because I'm so exhausted, and because there is no one else to do everything that a mom and a wife needs to do." Now, I know this is a really hard letter, but the reason I read it to you is to help you understand the community that we're reaching out to serve. Because I want you to understand in your heart how important this is to reach out in a way that allows families to know that we're not just being tolerant of them. Tolerant is when we just say, well, you know, thank you for coming to our church. I think I'll throw you in our preschool program because you have a child that might be cognitively younger, and that's about the only place we know where to go because we're not equipped. But instead of being tolerant of families, I want to challenge you today to be intentional. And what intentionality says is you're welcome to be here. We're so happy that you're here. And we may not know how to care for your child completely, but we want to learn and we want to walk this journey with you. And thank you for being here with us. And that's the difference between being intentional and being tolerant. So I believe that we need to equip ourselves. You know, you ask yourself, what would Jesus do? I mean, I understand that there's a fear factor out there. I understand that oftentimes we're not equipped. You know, if you're just a typical person, you don't have the special ed degree that you think that you need. Or perhaps you may feel that you just don't know what to do. You know, you want to do something, you don't know what to do. But I think about the fact that what would Jesus do? I think Jesus was clear in his word in Matthew where he said, as you've done it unto least of these, have done it unto me. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but how I believe he meant it was that there's a weaker part of the body and the stronger part. And we have a responsibility to reach out to the weaker part of the body. And how do we do that? You know, how do we invite them in? I mean, in the book of Luke, it talks about, you know, we should be having a dinner party or a festival, and we need to go out and who do we need to invite when we have a party? Oftentimes we think about inviting the most notorious people in the community, those that might have great stature or wealth, but the Bible tells us to go out and find the lame, the maimed, the blind, and the crippled. And as we do, we will be blessed. And I believe a blessing will come as we reach out to this community in a very special way. And so we're here today, and I want to tell you that respite care, I believe, is one way that we have a party to invite families into our congregations, into our midst and all. Respite care can be the big party that Jesus talks about in the book of Luke. So first of all, what is respite care? Respite care is simply giving caregivers a break. It's simply pulling alongside caregivers and saying, we know how hard your journey is. We understand that oftentimes you're walking this alone. And we understand that what you don't need is another potluck, but what you need to do, what you need to have is somebody that's going to come alongside you and understand your need. And that need is getting a break from your ongoing caregiving responsibilities. You know, we recognize that caregivers often can't call the girl down the street to babysit for them because they're not equipped. They're not. They may be nervous. They're just not equipped to be able to reach out. So we have a very incredible opportunity to reach out and to equip people who know nothing about disability. I want to tell you that through respite care in our own ministry, we have trained people that are top-level executives, senior citizens, moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas. I guess that's the same as senior citizens. We've equipped even children and teenagers to be a part. Because, you know, as your heart is tugging and you care about this community, God can use you to make a difference. And so I want to encourage you with that it's not hard to love and to reach out to this community. So when you think about the fact that parents today, VIP parents today are being quietly overwhelmed and ask themselves a question, what would Jesus do? I believe Jesus would invite them to a respite care party to practically help them. I believe that might be one of the most effective ways to reach out to parents and to let them know that we care, but also it's an incredible way to train your volunteers and to equip your volunteers. You know, oftentimes I hear people say, well, I'll start respite care after I start my Sunday morning program. And you know what? It's great that you want to invite families into your Sunday morning programs. But I want to ask you a question. What has happened, or have you ever put an announcement in a bulletin asking people to work with kids with special needs on a Sunday morning? My guess is that if you've done that you haven't had an overwhelming response back to that. And that's because most people might have a heart and might have a compassion for this community, but they feel like they're not equipped to reach out. And my guess is that that success rate hasn't been the best to do that. I'm here to tell you today that if you have a community-based respite program, that you train people, that you give them some education and training, and you put them in an environment that's a community-based program that's comfortable, that's fun, and it's a place where they can learn. It's a training ground for them. I can tell you that people will respond because I've seen it happen. They will respond to come and to learn and to grow, and it'll be much easier to transition those people then to Sunday morning, to work one-on-one, to make your programs inclusive for kids with special needs. So I'm excited to talk to you about this today. So in addition, just three other things, in addition to respite care, not only does it equip your volunteers, but it also, gives caregivers that break that they need, that they so desperately need. And it also is very targeted, intentional ministry toward the VIP kids. Oftentimes we're having to make our kids squeeze into a program that we have on Sunday morning, but a respite care program allows the program to be tailored to them. It makes it all about them, and we're being very intentional to do that. I think the other thing about respite care, it is a great outreach opportunity for the community. It's putting your church on the map, where your church says, you know what, we care, this community cares, this church community cares about the special needs community. And when you state that you are presenting a respite care program, you've made a tremendous statement that you're having a party at your church, and you have a very intentional invitation to a group of people that really would be very welcome to come to this party. So let's talk about what it is to start a respite care program. So from this point on, I'd like to talk to you about doing a respite care program. I'm just going to kind of hit some high-level points with that, and then particularly want to invite you to particularly explore our Buddy Break program, because it might be something that you might be interested in for your church or your congregation. So first of all, I believe that there's two different respite models that can be done. I talked about community-based, meaning that you're inviting families to come to a center, which would probably be the local church, to come and to offer respite care. The other type of model that you might be familiar with is going to a home to provide respite care. And both of them have a place depending on the children that you're working with or the folks that you are working with at the time. So there's two models that you can consider. But some of the things that you barriers that you might have to overcome when you consider doing respite care is the simple fact that I've never done this before. I'm not educated to do this. It's that fear factor that comes in and tries to intimidate us, And I'm here to tell you that if you have a willingness to learn, that you can learn how to care for folks with special needs. It doesn't take a special ed degree. It doesn't take being a nurse or a doctor or a therapist. It just takes a heart to reach out and a willingness to learn, and God will use that. Sometimes liability can be a concern, thinking, boy, how am I going to get past all the things that could go wrong? And this is a high-risk community to do. And I tell you that if you really put a lot of time and thought into risk management, keeping that accident from ever happening, or those difficult situations that could come up that could put your volunteer, your VIP child, your church at risk. And so we want to consider those things like that. We want to analyze and evaluate the risk, how significant it can be, how to eliminate that risk. We want to protect the church. If you're watching today, it's very possible that you, as your church, might be considering it. Your church might be considered about the insurance and about having coverage, proper coverage if something did go wrong. And those are all things that need to be considered. Of course, finances are sometimes a barrier in thinking about that. How will I afford to do this? How will my church budget be able to provide for this? And I can tell you that you can easily make amends for that through donations, through people supplying things for your program, through asking people to just contribute a little bit for the people that are going to be a part of your respite program. So anyway, these are just some of the barriers that might be out there. But as you consider about how to get started, the first thing I want to say is so basic, but it's so foundational. Pray. You need to pray and begin to ask God to open up the door, to give you favor. But don't just stop there, but start doing something about it. Share your vision with your church leadership. If you are church leadership, then you are already there, and you are a decision maker, and you have the ability to make the decision that you're going to make this happen in your church. If you're not a decision maker, you need to begin to make friends with the staff and help them understand the need, to begin to educate them about the need of the VIP community. And as you do that, then you'll begin to get buy-in from them as they begin to understand. One of the best ways to educate about the need is if you have people with disabilities within your congregation, is to tell their story or get them to come with you to tell your story. Or if you have a story, don't be afraid to tell that story. I know that oftentimes families with VIP kids have to advocate everywhere. They have to advocate for insurance companies, maybe with their schools, for any services that they might need. So the church is one place you don't want to advocate for. But I really like to look at it as a point that the church wants to do something, but they just don't know what to do and maybe aren't aware. I think about the years that we had our son with Nathaniel. It was very interesting being on the other side of it, where I had been very involved on church staff and a part of the other side in full-time ministry, and then having my son, and oftentimes having to be pulled out of a service or sit in a van with him or in a dark, empty classroom because nobody understood how to care for my child. I've kind of walked both of those sides like that, understanding that. But I can tell you that it wasn't for lack that the people didn't care or didn't love me. It's just that they didn't know what to do. So we need to begin to educate them that there is something that can be done. God has a place for every VIP child. When we cut out VIP kids out of our congregations and we just don't make room, it's like cutting the arm off, your right arm off, or cutting your ankle off, or cutting some part of your body off, because there's so much value that these kiddos add to our lives and these people add to our lives. So you need to not be embarrassed or timid to advocate and to tell your story and help educate and equip like that. We want to be sure that as you're thinking about starting a respite program, that you assess your facilities. Are your facilities handicap friendly? If you have kids coming in with wheelchairs, how will they get in? If there's an upstairs, do you have a way to get them upstairs if part of your program is on a second level? But what kind of facilities do you have? What are you going to do during the time? Oftentimes there's different activities to do, but how will you adapt activities? What will be the type of things you'll do? Will you be doing a lot of games or crafts or music, or what will you do? I'll tell you a little bit more about what we do at our Buddy Break program after, but you need to start asking yourself these questions. You need to identify who would potential leadership be. To run a respite program like any other ministry within the church, you need to consider who your leadership's going to be. I can tell you everything rises and falls on leadership. If you don't have good leadership in place, you'll never be able to develop and to cultivate a program. At Nathaniel's Hope, we encourage a team approach with leadership. We believe that it can be a very overwhelming task to allow one person to be able to run the whole ministry, and we believe God's gifted people in different ways. So you might need somebody that's a great administrator, that's just really good with those administrative details. You need a creative, somebody who loves that creativity and wants to make the program as fun as they can be for the kids. You need somebody that has that compassion and that ability to connect with parents and families and be able to really understand their needs and to be able to reach out to them. It's oftentimes hard to find one person that has all those gifts, not to mention the time that it will take to run a ministry like this. So be thinking about those type of people that might be identified in your community like that, in your church community like that. We think oftentimes that, I think about it's been said that it takes a village, to be able to support somebody. And I think it takes a whole community of people to be able to support our VIP families that come into our churches like that. When we think about starting respite care, you want to think about how are you going to train and equip your volunteers? What kind of training are you going to give to take their fear away? I believe if you can train and equip them and take the fear out of their heart and gives them some basic disability sensitivity training, it's going to make a difference in their ability to reach out and to help this community. Sometimes once you kind of establish what your program is going to be, marketing is critical. How are you going to tell people what you're doing? Where are you going to find your VIP kids? I think when you're considering respite care, you need to be looking in your congregation first to think about who's in your congregation, and be sure you're taking care of those families first, because they are part of your family, and we have a responsibility to reach out and to help those. But then as we begin to look outside the walls, how can we recruit from the community and let people know that we are offering that cup of cold water water in Jesus' name, and to go into the highways and byways. I have to tell you that though we operate a faith-based ministry, we have had Muslims, Buddhists, Jehovah's Witnesses, all kinds of faiths come in to use our respite care programs, because we have let them know that we care, and it's become a great outreach tool to reach out. So as you begin to think about it, you need to be thinking about, how will I advertise and tell other people about the community like that. And then when you kick off your party, you want to make a really big deal about that. Let me talk with you a little bit about our Buddy Break program and how it works, and maybe it'll entice you a little bit to look more into it and realize that it's really a great opportunity to equip your church. I recognize that most of you, that if you are in full-time ministry, you have many programs to run, especially if you're in children's ministry and you have a thriving ministry. It's hard enough to develop your programs and curriculum to take care of the typical kids that might be a part of your program. So we've tried to make it easy to have you walk right in and to be able to be fully equipped to run a respite program without having to think about all the risk management, about all the training, about all the how-tos and what-ifs. But we've tried to put that all together and provide that together for you. One of the things that we've done is we believe in training the trainer. So at Buddy Break, with our program, we put a lot into training and investing into the leadership team, because we believe that, as I said earlier, everything rises and falls on leadership. So if we're not equipping our leadership team, then the chances of providing a successful respite program isn't going to really be there. At our typical Buddy Break program, we have our volunteer buddies and we have our VIP families that come and be a part of this. We do everything by reservation basis, meaning that families do not just show up on our doorstep, but they actually make a reservation to come to Buddy Break. And once they come and are part of a program, after they do an orientation and we learn all about their child, we've created an online database that we house all significant information about the children, so that we at an instant know about any medical issues that they might have, or possibly their communication needs, things that they enjoy doing, don't enjoy doing. But we've created about an 8-page report or application that will tell them all about their child. And that makes a volunteer feel very secure when they're going to be matched up with a child at a respite event, that they understand about their child, that they're not just walking in not knowing anything about a child that they're going to have that perhaps has autism, and they may know very little about autism. So it's very important to equip your volunteers and help them to feel like they've learned everything they possibly can learn. So we believe strongly in providing these applications and having parents tell about their children. Of course, along with that, when they're sharing a lot of sensitive information, confidentiality is very important. And so we do have all our volunteers sign off on confidentiality with that. When our families come to our respite programs, we really want the families to know that we are providing a safe environment. When you're working with kids that might be nonverbal and may have different physical limitations, and they can't fend for themselves, then we have a real responsibility to care for these kids and make sure our programs are very safe. And so we've put a lot of thought into risk management and how to make our programs safe and effective. But we've also wanted them to be a lot of fun. So when our kids come, we often hear of how kids don't want to leave our programs, or when they know they're coming to Buddy Break, they're excited about it. They've identified with what that is. During our time, we don't just babysit the kids and put them in front of a video player and say, great, we're just going to watch them so their parents can get a break. But what we do is we have structured activities that give kids the opportunity to do games, to do crafts, to see therapy dogs, to do bounce houses. We'll have themed events where everything is around our particular theme. We've brought in water slides and fire trucks. We've had one Buddy Break location bring in a SWAT team before. But we really want the kids to have a lot of fun and to maximize their abilities. We're not, like I said, I want to emphasize the fact we're not babysitting, but we're wanting to maximize their abilities. And while we're having opportunity to engage in relationship with these kids with these different activities, our volunteers in turn, our buddy volunteers, are gaining confidence in working with kids in different ways. We've taken people who have never worked with any child that has a disability and giving them a fun interactive time with a child in a safe environment, and being in a community setting. If they are having maybe an issue at knowing how to work with a particular behavior, there could be other people around that are a little bit more seasoned in their experience that can offer some tips on what can be done. So respite care is a great training ground for volunteers to learn. During the course of time, we love to tell the kids about Jesus. I believe that there's no disabled soul. So though we're providing respite care and giving the caregivers that needed break, we want ministry to happen with these kids. And not all these kids are just going to sit there and listen to a story or be able to quietly engage in a structured activity like a song, because they might have a little bit more energy in them than what we might see a typical kid have. They might have a different way of communicating, but we really want our kids to understand who Jesus is. Another reason why our volunteers have an opportunity to learn how to bring Jesus to these kids, again, in a very safe, fun setting, so they can learn how to tell Bible stories, how to adapt Bible stories that may be taught on a Sunday morning, but through the respite care program, they're learning how to build the bridge and to allow the kids to engage in a way that they will understand that. They're learning how to work with them, to maximize their abilities, not to look at what their disability is, but to maximize their abilities in a safe setting. We're allowing them to have time of worship. It's been beautiful to watch kids worship during our respite programs. And like I said before, there is no disabled soul, so these kids are able to worship and to learn and to grow. And sometimes the way that they want to express their worship might be different than how a typical child would do, but we provide for that environment. And again, it's a great learning opportunity for our volunteers to learn about how to engage in worship. I think through our Buddy Break program or through any respite program you do, it is a natural conduit to engage people to the disabled community. So we have, during our program, we always start and end our program with a time where the parents are ministered to by the caregiver for that day, the buddy caregiver for that day, where we're taking time to pray with families and to hear their heart, to learn more about them as a family and not just a person dropping their child off for a few hours. But in doing that, we find that as people's hearts become engaged with our VIP families, that there's nothing that they won't do to break down those barriers and to bring these families into a church setting, because they recognize the need that without the hope of Christ, none of us can make it. But without the hope of Christ, these families have little hope for survival. I know with our personal experience with our son, I could say without Christ as our foundation, I don't think I would be sitting here today being able to have gotten to the other side of it. There's a 90% divorce rate for families that have children that have passed on to heaven, and my husband and I have fallen in that category. But I can tell you, because of the hope of Christ and because of our commitment to Christ and our understanding, our grounding in our faith, we've been able to make it to the other side and to be restored and to walk that journey. And that's what our families need. They need to hear the hope of Christ. And they can receive that hope of Christ, of course, through our hands and our heart and our ability to reach into their lives through doing something so simple as taking care of their child for a few years. But we need to move beyond that, and we need to then invite them into the family on Sunday mornings. When we have children's programs, we need to have people that are equipped to invite them into our holiday programs that we have, our outreaches that we do to the community. And I can tell you that churches have successfully been able to cross over and engage more volunteers into these programs to intentionally reach out and let families know that have kids with special needs that they are invited in. And it's all because of respite care. So I want to encourage you to think about that. And as you're sitting there, you might think, wow, this is good, but I'm really overwhelmed. I want to invite you to really consider exploring our Buddy Break program. I'll take a little time here to do a commercial here, but it is our heart's prayer to help assist and train and equip 1,000 churches by 2020. It's what's called our BHAG, Big Hairy Audacious Goal. And we really believe we're not wanting to do that just to say, look how wonderful we are and what we've done, but we truly believe that the church is where it is at, and we have a responsibility and opportunity to educate and equip the local church to make a difference. And what we're trying to do is build respite communities. And I'll give you an example of this. Here in Orlando, Florida, we have about a dozen churches right now that do our Buddy Break program on a monthly basis. And what we're trying to do is offer lots of options for families on a weekly basis for respite care. We're trying to get the Christian community to work together. It's not about building our kingdom, it's about building the kingdom. So one day we might have a Baptist church and a Assemblies of God church have Buddy Break on the same day that might be at opposite ends of the town. The next week we may have a Methodist church, a community church, whatever Presbyterian church have a Buddy Break. And it's all of us working together to take care of this community. And as we're doing that through our online database, we've been able to network the community together and provide all the resources and information about these kids and families that make it easy, that parents don't have to keep re-registering over and over at different places. But it's been exciting to see how God is moving, and right now we're excited to be in 9 states with our Buddy Break program on our goal to hit all of the states that are out there, and we've even begun internationally to reach out to overseas, recently translating part of our Buddy Break program into Russian right now. So we're excited about the opportunity to do this. But I want to invite you to be a part and to really seriously consider respite care. Would love to invite you to visit one of our programs, or if we're not in your local area, would love to connect you with another respite program that might be out there that you might be able to learn and to grow a little bit about that. We believe that if the church is to be what Jesus wanted it to be, we need to be inclusive in our environment. And I'm telling you that this community is crying out for hope and for help. In closing, I want to read to you this one last letter that really grips my heart. I share this letter because it grips my heart to understand that we need to go through the roof to reach this community and to be equipped to reach this community. But this is from a family that actually has 3 VIP kids, 2 daughters with autism and 1 daughter with Down syndrome. And I'd like to read this letter to you. Dear Nathaniel's Hope, we have almost nowhere to turn, and we're in a situation that is extremely trying. Madeline was up most of last night screaming. Molly was up the night before yelping. Megan is home with the flu, but is nonverbal, so we didn't know she was sick until she was very sick. As you know, this is so tiring. I like to think I have endless energy and hope, but I don't. So I need to reach out to others for help. As I see it, we are all one big family when it comes to raising our girls. Matt and I are the everyday people, and you are the line behind us. You are all what gives us strength to get up every night with one or all of them. When we see something in the paper about parents who lose it, we always say, why didn't they ask for help? And so I'm saying, help! Yet so few care to hear us. But you do, and it's appreciated more than can be expressed. I need to just have quiet sometimes to clear my head and not be responsible. I need to sit down and eat. I need to take a shower. I need to see my fellow husband as a husband and not a fellow caretaker. When he's away, I need to regroup, start over, get my house clean, get ready for the rest of the weekend. We need to go to the store and be able to shop and stay at the store for as long as we need to without leaving because of a tantrum. It's actually vital to us as a functioning family. We moved here for a special charter school, but we have no family that can help us. You have become our family, and we now rely upon you as family. And when I read this story, you know, my heart is moved when I hear the heart cry of a practical need that we can help by giving respite care to this family. But the story doesn't end here, because I want to tell you that this family, through respite care, have begun attending church, because a church that was offering our Buddy Break respite care program got equipped on Sunday mornings. And one Sunday morning, even in a church service, the dad of this family actually bought his first Bible at a bookstore at the church, because he'd never had a Bible before. But it was because a church reached out, practically offering that cup of cold water in Jesus' name. Volunteers were equipped that could then be transitioned to Sunday morning. These girls could come to church on Sunday morning, that this family is in a different place than they would have been before. So I thank you for considering respite care as a way to reach out to kids with special needs and their families. And I want you to know we want to be here to help you on that journey. Feel free to visit our website at nathanielshope.org, or give us a call if we can help in any way. But we can make a difference. Together we can make a difference and really reach out and bring hope, the real hope of Jesus Christ, to this community. God bless you.